Bayley's new stable on Raw has opened up an endless amount of possibilities and fan theories. So we'll take a look at everything going on with them. We'll also check out a quick update for MJF, Sasha Banks, and more. Let's start things off with a brief MJF and AEW update. MJF and his AEW status was the talk of the town in late May, early June. He was scheduled for a big pay-per-view match that had been building up story-wise for a long time. But all of a sudden, there was all these reports and rumors about him missing AEW-related appearances, and even rumors that he had taken a flight out of town before the show. AEW began pulling down the advertisements and promos for MJF's match at the event, and no one knew what was going on. He ended up coming out for the pay-per-view match, was defeated, and left on a stretcher. Many fans assumed that MJF being taken out on a stretcher was going to be the way AEW wrote him off of television until the contract issues and disputes were resolved. But less than a few nights later, on June 1st, MJF gets an appearance on AEW Dynamite, which quickly went viral. Everything he said in that promo had some truths to it. He was said to be frustrated with all these new ex-WWE guys coming into the company and getting better treatment and better pay than he was getting. MJF was one of the original AEW stars that made a name for himself strictly in AEW. He was there from the start. There was all these rumors that MJF's contract reportedly had not been restructured at all. He was still on the small first contract that he had signed, but clearly grew out of it and outperformed it. So he wanted to be compensated for his great work. And back in June, everyone thought this was AEW turning the situation into a storyline. Sort of like what WWE did with CM Punk in 2011. Punk was legitimately frustrated with WWE and was considering leaving the company at the time. So WWE took some of those real-life issues he had and brought it onto WWE television with him, which gave us the Pipe Bomb promo and the Money in the Bank 2011 match with John Cena, where Punk won the title just a few minutes before his contract expired. It was great how they took what Punk was going through and turned it into that 2011 storyline. So there was a lot of comparisons going on between the CM Punk story and what appeared to be happening with MJF. Only issue is that since June 1st, AEW has done nothing to advance this MJF storyline, if it even is a storyline or not. Over 2 months and just absolutely no news, no developments, no teasers, or anything else. Fightful reports that there's been no talks or mentions of MJF in AEW at all, not by Tony Khan or anyone else. So, is this a storyline? Is it real life? It's legitimately an actual mystery. No one knows what's going on or when we'll see MJF again. Reports claim that his AEW contract is set to expire January 2024. So you're talking about the rest of 2022 and the entirety of 2023 before he'll officially become a free agent. A lot of fans wonder if he'll follow Cody Rhodes' footsteps and be the second AEW star that jumped ship to WWE. We've seen hundreds of former WWE stars go to AEW, but there hasn't been many AEW stars that come over to WWE. That list is just Cody Rhodes. So, will he just sit out the rest of his contract? Will they eventually bring him back to AEW television before it expires? No one knows a single thing. Even the most reliable insiders and outlets out there seem absolutely clueless with this situation. So we'll have to see if AEW return will ever happen for MJF. Bayley is back raising havoc in WWE, and she's not alone at all. Bayley, Dakota, and Sky had a very impressive Raw debut together and made their presence heavily felt. They began the show by finishing Becky Lynch off with a backstage attack. They continued their havoc by attacking Alexa Bliss and Asuka, as well as continuing the mind games with Bianca Belair. What makes Bayley's group so impactful is obviously the numbers advantage. It's the same thing currently with the Judgment Day and all the other great factions and stables of the past. They will outnumber you, and there's nothing you can really do from there on. What Raw hinted at was that Bianca Belair will most likely temporarily join forces with Asuka and Alexa Bliss. Bianca, Alexa, and Asuka were all attacked by Bayley's group, so they all have the same enemy in common. So that should bring all of them together, but at the end of the day, Bianca, Alexa, and Asuka are not a stable, so that chemistry isn't really there with that trio the way it'll be for Bayley, Dakota, and Sky. Some of the official WWE Twitter accounts recently tweeted out the simple question of, who will stop them? Referring to Bayley's stable. And the Twitter account got a very, very interesting response made by a current WWE title holder. This being, of course, the NXT Women's Champion, Mandy Rose. Mandy quoted the tweet and answered the question simply by posting the eyes emoji. Now, without even saying a single word, everyone understood what Mandy was implying. She was obviously hinting at the idea of her stable, Toxic Attraction, taking on Bayley's stable. And that's a very interesting concept. Toxic Attraction has been one of the most dominant stables we've ever seen in the women's division. There was a long period of time where all three Toxic Attraction members all held WWE championships, and Mandy's reign itself is still ongoing. So if there's any three women that could realistically stop Bayley's stable, it would be Toxic Attraction. That makes a lot of sense. Mandy Rose hasn't made any appearances on the main roster since she returned to NXT. So doing something with Bayley's stable would be quite the reintroduction for Mandy to the main roster. Even if it was to happen at something like Survivor Series, it would be great to see. The WWE title and tag team titles are still unified, so that's going to be an issue for the traditional champion versus champion, Raw versus SmackDown matches we usually see at Survivor Series. But maybe it's a good sign that Survivor Series will return to its roots and be more focused on team versus team, stable versus stable matches once again. So we'll have to see who steps up to Bayley, Dakota, and Sky. There's another situation going on right now with Sasha Banks that fans are looking at as another possible clue that she could be back with WWE. Sasha Banks was previously scheduled to take part in a celebrity flag football game with the Los Angeles Rams and several other big-name celebrities. Her name was on the list for several days leading up to the event, but right before it was set to take place, her name was removed from the list of players. Obviously, her removal can be for a list of different reasons, but wrestling fans theorize that maybe this could be all connected to the rumors going around lately that Sasha and Naomi have reached a new deal with WWE. When Vince McMahon was still in charge, the talks of Sasha and Naomi's potential return to WWE was getting more and more unlikely by the day. But ever since Triple H took over, and there's been this big shift in WWE management, the Sasha and Naomi return rumors have been sounding more and more positive by the day. There was the reports last week that WWE was allegedly reaching out to them, and then on August 1st, reports came out and flat out said that Sasha and Naomi have come to an agreement to return to WWE. So that's where we're at right now with all the Sasha and Naomi rumors. Things are obviously heading in a different direction compared to the last time we saw Sasha and Naomi inside of the WWE ring. There's new call-ups, new stables, new actual tag teams in the women's division, so we'll have to see if those return rumors turn out to be true. But what are your thoughts on today's stories with Mandy Rose, MJF, and Sasha Banks? Leave your comments below, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.